everybody get to Canvas. So, motif is word of the day, and this is another one of those like big girl words that is definitely a more advanced idea, but they're also really common at the same time. So, motifs are when you have a recurring, which means repeated, dominant idea. So something that stands out in a story over and over and over and is symbolic. So you've got symbolism that's repeated over and over and over. That's when you have a motif. So motifs exist for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's because the creative writer or the author is trying to make the symbolism clear. They're trying to make it stand out, and that's why it's being repeated over and over and over. And sometimes, actually, hold on, I'll pause on that. Show me screens really quick, everybody. Show me screens. This is a little bit more advanced concept, so I want your full attention. So show me those screens. Show me screens. Almost there. So most stories have motifs. And it's not just like a book thing, it's also a movie thing. You'll see it a lot in all sorts of different places. So Harry Potter actually has a lot of motifs. But the question, like the test, if it's a motif or not, is there symbolism? So when you have Harry's scar, can anybody think, is that symbolic of something deeper? Is there something more happening, or is it just a scar in his head? What do we think? More. Right, it's like this deep connection of the battle between the evil and good. Yeah, and because it's repeated over and over and over, that they draw attention to that symbolism, that's a motif. You also have the Deathly Hallows, which are very symbolic, and Patronuses, which are very symbolic, and even something like the houses, Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, those are also really symbolic. So it's not like you only have one motif either. You can have multiple. What are you going to say, Levi?
So, I was thinking,
yes.
What in Christianity would be the crossword?
Exactly. Yes, that is and the test, is it symbolic? Of course it is. And because you've got that repetition, it's a motif as well. Exactly, yeah. And it really makes it stand out. It makes it pop. So, Hunger Games, the games themselves are symbolic. Can somebody tell me why? I think there's lots of reasons. But in the Hunger Games, why are the games symbolic? Yeah, from the Capitol's perspective, that's the symbolism. And you're totally right. But it's also symbolic from the district's perspective. It's symbolic of their struggle against the Capitol, right? And so that's kind of cool that you've got symbolism happening on different levels. And then we already talked about the Mockingjay yesterday. The Mockingjay is symbolism, but also because it's repeated, becomes a motif. And then, how many of you have seen or read the series of Unfortunate Events? Yeah, and if you haven't, there's a lot of different versions. Oliver, screen facing me. But there's this idea of the all-seeing eye, which is also on American Money, which is it's a similar kind of piece of symbolism. And that is deeply symbolic of the secret society in that story. And because it's repeated, it becomes a motif. Are you seeing the kind of pattern here of what makes a motif or not? How many of you, Divergent used to be crazy popular at Albion. There was a year that, raise your hand if you've seen the movies or you read the books. If you haven't, and if you like these kind of dystopian, Hunger Games, if you like those kinds of stories, you would really like Divergent. But only 2 of your hands went up, so I'm going to skip that. So guys, look in my class. I know the answers on the screen. What do you see all over? I went to the dollar store and bought all of the things. What's the motif? Say it again? Easter, yeah. So, and there's not we talked about the scale of symbolism, right? So as far as these decoration goes, they're not super symbolic, but there is, for some people who celebrate Easter, it depends on how you celebrate it. On your phone trivia way. It depends. Oh, okay. That it can be religious, so it could have a symbolic representation. But yeah, you can even, some people, if you look on the meme for the assignment, it talks about nail polish. So you can have a motif even in that way. If you had nails that had a specific pattern going on, you could have a St. Patrick's Day motif on your fingernails, your manicure. It's less symbolic, but it still technically is a motif. So why am I teaching this to creative writers? Okay, so some of you will end up that you could have your actual career as being an author, right? It's not going to happen to everybody, but it could. And strategically, this could be a way that you're getting something important stuck in the reader's head, and then that's how you make money on merchandise. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I am a living example of exactly what I'm teaching you, and I bet you some of you are as well. It fell off. Okay, well, I lied. I used to have the Harry Potter club, like our Hogwarts Academy. I used to have our club pin on my lanyard, and then Miss Timothy gave me too many other pins. But that is me giving that author money because I was inspired and I used one of their motifs, and I had it on my person, right? How many of you have something from like a team or a story that you've got some, like, what do you have? What do you have, Oliver?
I have some work from my content creator.
There you go, right? And so I know this seems kind of ridiculous, right? But if you're going to try and make money, if that's going to be your living, why not be strategic? Why not put it in purposely? Okay, so we're about done, but I also, again, I teach it during the multi-genre project specifically because it's so easy to add a motif. When you've got something that is so visual, then this is a good one to practice it with. Okay, go ahead and start thinking about your U-try box, guys.
A motif is a recurring symbol which takes on a figurative meaning. We see them in books, films, and poems. In fact, almost every text commonly uses the literary device of the motif. A motif can be almost anything. An idea, object, concept, a character archetype, the weather, a color, or even a statement. Motifs are used to establish a theme or a certain mood. They have a symbolic meaning. It's typically pretty clear when a writer is using a motif. They're not usually associated with hidden meanings because the writer wants you to recognize them. They play a role in defining the makeup of a narrative. Think about the fairy tale and its almost endless list of motifs. Happily ever after, the handsome prince, the damsel in distress, the fairy godmother, the wicked witch, the evil stepmother, talking animals, magic fairies, and ogres. Consider the popular fairy tale Snow White and how it uses a mirror as a prominent motif throughout the story. Snow White's wicked stepmother, the queen, is constantly checking herself out in the mirror, even asking it, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? The trouble begins when Snow White turns 7, and the mirror informs the queen that she is no longer the prettiest, because Snow White has taken over that title. The queen's face goes green.
And again, there's that like symbolism with color. So we'll finish right there. Did anybody have an example they wanted to share? And it's okay if not, but I know sometimes you guys come up with really cool stuff for your You Try box. Does anybody have a different example for motif that we didn't already talk about? Okay, that's okay. Go ahead, make sure you turn it in.